Hey, everybody, good Saturday morning, and welcome to Hobby Hotline, episode 282. I forgot I was hosting there for a second. I was really into that intro. That gets me going. What's going on, guys? Hey, John. Hey, Horatio.
Morning.
Good morning.
John, you are the Joan Rivers of the show today, filling in and covering. So,
I've had less work done. Matter of fact, I haven't had any work done, as you can see, or I should get my money back. But yeah, I've had less work done. And listen, I've been called worse than Joan Rivers, so I'll take Joan Rivers.
Horatio, have you had any plastic surgery?
No, not that I'm aware of. I've been warned. I tried to do a Brazilian butt lift once, but they told me that it was unlicensed where I was going, and I kind of shied away from that at the end.
Listen, me or you, Danny, should not be asking Horatio if he had any. He's the best looking guy in the room. Like, he should be telling us to have work done. We shouldn't be asking him if he had any.
We're hanging out with the chat room. He's getting phone numbers DM to him probably. So, but that's why he likes coming on with us. I think we offered to put him on with other people,
or he does it. I mean,
Right,
it's either
exactly.
or. There's nothing in between.
Good morning, everybody. I can't keep up with everybody. Korean Cardboard, Philly Joe, Stooks, White Sox, Steven, Ruben. Good morning to everyone. And thanks for spending your Saturday morning with us as always. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the sports card shop at Moco. And as I always say, the sports card shop, I've actually been to one of their locations, so I can vouch for what a great shop they have. I've been to Valparaiso, so Rex and the whole family, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to them, and definitely give them a shout online at thesportcardshop.com. Ruben says that I'm a strong Baltimore 7.5. I think that equates to like a New York 5. So I'll take what I can get. John, is that Jefferson Burdick calling?
No, no, I think it was my wife to yell at me. No, it wasn't her either. But New Year's Eve is my 25th wedding anniversary, and I think I made my wife mad by I knew I couldn't remember if it was 24 or 25. When you get married on New Year's Eve, you got to do like some math. And so I'm like, is it 24 or 25? And I got this look. I found out it's 25. So
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. I'm waiting for my like White House invitation to get like whatever the highest civilian honor you can get. But I check the mail. I check the mail almost every day. I get some cards, but no White House invite.
I hate to break it to you. If somebody's going to get a civilian honor in that marriage, it's your wife.
You're probably right. So, well, even if it's for her and it comes in the mailbox, I'm hoping I'd be the plus one.
All right. Congrats on 26, Card Hunter says.
It could be, I'm not going to ask again. We'll just call it 25.
Right. You got to figure out what the material is. It was funnier when you said 26. This is a great. 25 is the silver anniversary, Mookie says. Maybe get her some Prism.
That's good.
Yeah, she wouldn't know what Prism was if I explained it to her. So
yeah, just
she did get a gift. She did get a gift. I will say that. It wasn't card related, thankfully for me. So
I was about to say, good call. Can we talk cards anyway?
All right.
All right. We were having a great conversation before John got on. We had some time, and I one of my favorite things at the end of the year is that I think it's the Oxford English Dictionary or Merriam-Webster's. Maybe it's Merriam-Webster's. They add words to the dictionary that were buzzwords of the year. So not all of these are new words, but these are buzzwords of the year that might not have been, I'll say, in the hobby dictionary going back a year or two, things that were not part of our vernacular. If anybody in the chat room has anything, please definitely throw it in there. But I'm going to start with the word taco fractor. Taco fractor is a word that I don't think any of us had heard, would hear, thought we would hear, or might hear again. But I do want to mention that the deadline for the taco fractor is tomorrow. They did have a claim date on there, so if you are one of the people that got it, that definitely make sure you claim that as soon as possible. Card Hunter says mega bid. That's a great hobby word added this year. We didn't have that one. So I just thought that taco fractured. I've said this a million times. It just cracks me up. I want to see what food they do every year. And I will also give a shout out, as you know, said, to the Pop Tart yesterday. Strong, or the other day, strong showing by the Pop Tart at the college bowl game. So taco fractor is my word. Horatio, what do you have?
Taco Fractor is definitely king, right? The Pop Tart yesterday dominating my timeline on Twitter. I love it's like the dancing Pop Tart. It's like the dancing sharks with Katy Perry from the Super Bowl. It's like everywhere. I love it. But I'm gonna go with buyback this year. I mean, the buyback is not a new word. It's not a anything that we haven't heard of. But I think that this year was really really important because it was the second year now, right? That Topps did the MVP buyback, number one. So you see it's kind of becoming a yearly thing. And then the second reason was because of, buying back these double one of ones, I think that was a huge sort of not black eye, but kind of a faux pas, right? For Topps and parent company Panini and kind of their quality control. So yeah, Super Fractor 2X, right? Like the buyback program is a good one for the MVP. It wasn't a good look on the other end for Panini and Topps.
All right, real quick before we get to John, hobby fatigue. That's one I've heard more this year, and done more content than I knew existed on that. And repack. What they used to call them mystery packs. What was the innocent name for them? Because Target did it for years, and I forgot what they called them. I think that it was mystery packs before everybody. Yeah. John, you won't share your word with us, so we're on the edge of our seats here. I feel like we need a drum roll.
Well, it's not a new word. It's not a new word, and maybe it's because the former store owner in me, this hits home. But burglary, right? It was almost like every store got robbed this year, either burglarized after hours, cards taken during the day, where they put out an all points bulletin, be on the lookout for this graded card stolen from the store. But we've seen new stores very early into their opening be burglarized. We've seen long time stores be burglarized too. And I know someone will say, well, that really doesn't affect me. And not that you'd be wrong in saying that, but it just seemed to really sweep the LCSs this year. And, I feel bad for those that were hit, and very few were immune from some sort of vandalism, whether it be burglary, robbery, or something stolen, during store opening hours. And it happens at the National as well. So to me, that's one of it's a kind of an undercurrent one, but that's one that popped up to mind for me right away.
Well, you had a theory about a lot of the burglaries going on with some of the new product being all redemption cards. Did I hear that correctly?
Me?
Yeah, maybe I read it wrong, but the theory was that all the burglary at the printing press, here's burglary again, is stuff's going out the back door of the printing press.
Oh yeah, and that happens too, right? Backdoor stuff. And it happens in any industry, not just card stuff. And but I even had a guy contact me online locally with wax that was really too cheap that it ought to be, and I just figured it was coming out the back door from Walmart. So I kind of stayed away from that. While it was a good deal, I just did not it just gave me some heebie-jeebies, and I'm like, I'm not getting involved in that. So stuff's happening across the board, and anytime there's money involved, that's really what it comes down to. Anybody can make money the easy way, the illegal way. Unfortunately, those folks are going to get into action and do whatever. So that's one of my words. Not all of them, but that was one of the first ones.
Now, you have a lot of words. I've known you for a while.
Repack. Repack has become, someone put that in the chat. Let's be honest, it's become a hot button topic. I just wrote an article, shameless plug, for Hobby News Daily pertaining to my take on repacks. It might surprise some people. I was a repacker sort of in 1993 and 94 when I had my store. Speaking of store days, and I just kind of put these 400 count boxes together with cards, semi-stars, stars, and I put random, $40 card in there, in some of them, and I call them starter kits. We didn't even call them repacks then, and they're not like the repacks of today where they're sealed and there's they can be two. Mine sold for $5, but now we see repacks 4 figures and definitely 3 figures. $50 is probably the cheapest repack that we see in today's hobby. So that's definitely a 2023 buzzword for sure, and to not say it would be disingenuous.
Absolutely. Horatio, when you look back at the year, there seemed to be a lot of corporate animosity, fighting, a lot of stuff that is going to end up in front of judges. Is the hobby lawsuits, is that even a buzzword, or is that something we should talk about for 2023? Because to me, that kind of dominated.
What's that, John? What do you got there? Yeah, Danny.
Yeah, John,
that's another word. That's litigation. Litigation is another buzzword, but I was just holding up my list because that's on my list too. But go ahead, Horatio.
Yeah, no, I think like the two companies have become almost synonymous, like Panini Fanatics, right? Like, so it's like a hybrid word that we're using for hobby drama, hobby feud. So Panini Fanatics is going on. I'm kind of lost in the timeline on when Fanatics takes over all the licenses for all the different sports, WWE and the 3 major sports there as well. But it seems like the hobby's going through like this transition period, Danny, like you said before, before we started the show. There's a lot of unknowns, and there's people that point to Panini being, not that great of a company to begin with. Their quality control is not that great. They're glad to see kind of Panini being shown the door. But and then on the other hand is like Fanatics is Fanatics. There you go, Fanatics. Fanatics is like another it's another beast. It's not just a card company. They've got so many other things going on. So when we're talking about Fanatics, we got to be very, very careful to talk about just the cards, right? Because they're all over the place. They're doing so many different things. And so is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? That's what we don't know. And I don't think anybody really knows.
This is a great one. Card restoration. I don't know. After a year of taking in all this information, some tremendous writing at Hobby News Daily by Horatio, I've changed my mind slightly on how I feel about it. I do not believe in changing the card itself. However, I believe that there's certain things that I'm comfortable with. If you want to take your hand and smooth out a corner, I'm a lot more comfortable with a lot more, maybe manual manipulation. I'll call it. Maybe that's an awful term, but
some people just clicked off the show.
Right. No chemicals, no coloring, nothing like that. But I think, not that I would do it, and I don't want to buy it. I'm not quite there. But it's opened my eyes tremendously, and it's something it's made me think about that I didn't before.
You said you don't want to buy it, but you might have bought it and not
I probably
know
have. You're right. I probably have.
So you might not want to willingly buy it or own a card that has, had that treatment done, but you very well may have one in your collection that you're not aware of, and myself as well. I will say this: I don't, I know the art, I know the card hobby gets compared to the art world and how they restore original paintings from famous painters and that, but I don't see cards on that same plane. Now I will say this: I don't know if my opinions change from my how it's always been, but I will say this: I've heard some compelling arguments for making some adjustments to cards, but I don't like the use of chemicals on them once they've come off the presses and put into two packs. If you want to wipe a prism card down with a microfiber cloth so you get off fingerprints before you ship it out to your favorite grading company, I do that. So I'm not against that. But adding any kind of oils, corrosives, someone asked me, well, John, you don't want an additive added to the card. What if you like lick your finger, lick your thumb and then wipe something like a stain that might come off that easily? What do you consider that? And my answer was, well, that's, it's kind of gross, but it's your saliva, right? In a sense, it's water. And then they came back with, well, you have other oils and stuff in your saliva, so it's a chemical, much like any other chemical. Like it would really got down to the nitty gritties, like like we're going to send off saliva samples for like chemical analysis and whatnot. So when I say chemicals, I mean stuff made, cleaning agents, that sort of thing, not the chemicals that come out of your mouth that are, AKA known as saliva.
All right. Thanks, Bill Nye.
I think the black lights might catch those bodily fluids too. No, I don't know.
Right.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll catch a really deep fingerprint. So that's a good question. I don't have a black light. I have a LED light, but it might.
Right.
That's a good question. I thought inconsistent grading. I had mentioned grading earlier. I think the whole grading conversation, let me just say that. I don't think I've ever heard as many people talk about grading for whatever it is. New companies, old companies, grading 9.5s, not 9.5s, changes in ownership at Beckett, all sorts of stuff this past year. I think there's more conversation about grading than there's ever been. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think grading is even going mainstream. And what I mean by that is like people that don't even collect cards understand the importance of grading. So like I had this past weekend, or a few days ago, I had a friend. I went with him to submit some Pokemon first edition holos. So he had the Charizard, the first edition Charizard, a couple $1,000s a card. He never collected in his life, but he totally understood. He knew what PSA was. He knew the difference between having a PSA 5 and a PSA 8. He had done his research. And so then once we went to the shop and, they kind of gave him a quote, they did everything for him. They're going to sell it for him. Everything that they were saying to him, he had a good solid base of what they were talking about like even up charges, like he was thinking he was going to go the Charizard at first and maybe pay $20-$25 to have it graded. Then when they told him, no, this card is going to be like maybe a couple $100s to grade. He said, oh yeah, I thought I read something about that. So I think grading is prevalent. I think there's a whole huge market for it, and it's just interesting to see how. I'm always interested to see how the other companies besides PSA are going to compete, because without a doubt, the one thing they said is, yeah, you could send it to these CGC, you could send it to these other companies, but he's like, the top cards you send to PSA.
It's interesting because I think the perception of most people on the grading companies. Yet I know it's more than just this year, but in the 3 highest sold cards ever are all SGC. Now that's certainly vintage versus modern, and there's different conversations between Pokemon and sports cards. But it's interesting, and gets back to the grading conversation again. Um, John,
It's a great point by Horatio. I'm just going to piggyback off that. Two things for me as a bulk subber for SGC. I'm on the front lines of people sending in cards for the first time. I've had a lot of people in 2023 approach that bulk sub table that I have at shows and say, I've never done this before. Walk me through it. How does this work? Do I get the cards back today? But they were open to it and had many first time subbers. Also, piggybacking off Horatio's point, which was a great one. We've seen people change their mind on grading that know about it, that were sort of like, it's a money grab, or I don't submit. And I've seen people I've seen those posts where someone says, I know I was against grading, but I'm crossing that line. I'm sending my first sub in, and I understand the need for it. Now points make better sense to me now. I was probably a little harsh on my initial assessment. So we've seen people do 180s on them, and we've seen new people send in their first submissions, a lot of them, as illustrated by the gem rate charts across the board.
John, can you read this? And I'd love your answer.
I've got a Bird Magic rookie card. Who do I get it graded by, guys? Which company do I choose? Hi, Chris. Man, I'm an SGC PSA guy. That's really it for me. That would be considered a vintage card. So I don't think you go wrong either way. I think then it just becomes, which one do you prefer, right? Also speed, right? One's going to be, if you send to both those companies, one's going to be way quicker than the other one. That's got to be a factor for you on two fronts. How fast do you want the card back? And if you're going to sell it, if you were, let's say, a dealer, you're probably going to want certain cards back sooner as well. So with that particular, the Bird Magic rookie, I have one behind me that my big body's blocking. I don't think you go wrong either way. It just becomes a personal preference.
Can I add on to that comment?
Please.
John, there was a comment that I prefer non-graded. My eyes have been opened a little bit, even with that story that came out about the number of fake Jordans that PSA has gotten. So I honestly, I don't know, if you put a bunch of fake Jordans in me and it's like, tell which ones are fake, which ones are authentic. I probably wouldn't be able to tell. And that's kind of the fear, right? That with the non-graded, where they're saying that 25% of the Jordans that they get have been, they've rejected as fakes. That's a crazy number. And so makes me hesitant to go buy anything that's non-graded when you're spending a certain amount of money,
And even there, it gets back to, they've probably graded so many fake ones, you almost need the PSA guarantee. And that's the one thing that they do have.
Just to kind of come back to Horatio's comment, they weren't my cards, but in this bulk submittal that I'm doing for SGC, we've had 2 Jordan rookies come back as counterfeits. Now, we've had other ones come back and be graded as legit, but there's been two in the year that I've started doing the bulk subs that have come back as counterfeit. In one case, the owner kind of suspected that. In the other one, the owner was a little surprised by that. He had made that purchase off of someone else. So, there are certain cards. I think the Jordan rookie Horatio points out is one of those. I don't want to say you have to, but you almost have to buy it graded, or you really have to be good at looking at a raw one and being pretty confident in your abilities to determine that it's genuine, not being in a slab.
I don't have a term for this, but I've heard a lot of people talk about changing the way they collect kind of in the end of 2023, in the second half of the year, whether it's changing their PC, consolidating their collection, taking a step back, switching to vintage, but changing something in the way they collect. Horatio, is that true with you? Have you heard that from other people?
Yeah, definitely. You see that, among people that, you talk to, people you interview sometimes, that they've pivoted from being sports collectors all the way to just doing something completely differently. So like, can I do a shameless plug? Another shameless plug?
Absolutely.
That story with Mike Gidwitz. He owned the PSA 8 Honus Wagner. Guy was a major collector. Has deep pockets. He'll be the first one to tell you. Um, but he lost the love of sports collecting after a while. Even though he had the top card in the universe, right? And so he shifted his entire collection now to collecting Mad Magazine original art. And I think a lot of people are finding themselves in that boat. Uh, I think a lot of it depends on why people got into it in the first place. Um, you know, usually you see a lot of people that came back to the hobby did it as kids, and so they're just kind of reliving that nostalgia. They're kind of adding on to their nicer PCs. But if people got in to make money and things like that and to flip cards, definitely I think there's going to be a large amount of people leaving the hobby because it isn't there anymore. Me personally, I'm probably going to take a break. I'm doing more of the collecting for my kids now. Like I'm getting them into collecting, and not with the giant suitcases, but like just buying nice cheap product, where I'm not where I can spend the money for them and they can add a couple 30-40 cards of players that they like, teams that they like to their collection, and just kind of getting them in there. That's kind of my focus for the next year. Not so much my PC, but my kids kind of learning to love the hobby.
Now, John, I know that you work as a dealer also, but has it affected your buying personally or professionally?
Yeah, yeah. And first off, I want to say kudos to Horatio, man, getting his kids involved in the hobby. Right, that's the future. Man, I started as a 7-year-old kid in 1979, a long time ago, and we need that next generation. If this hobby is going to thrive and survive and replace us, me probably sooner than you guys, but we need that next generation to pick up the baton and also jump in the arena and enjoy the hobby, right? And this is a great point. It's, I do those hobby mantras. One of my mantras is you're the CEO of your hobby. You can decide what direction you can go to, or which way you want to go, or change things up. You don't have to go to your board of directors and put a proposal. Hey, I want to start doing non-sports. What says the board, right? Now, the board of directors might be your wife if you're using joint account funds and that sort of thing. But generally, you are the CEO of your hobby. And so you can, and even myself, I'll use myself as an example this year. I've gotten into more non-sports myself, personal collection wise, and carrying it as part of my show inventory. I've really made an effort to acquire music cards of artists that I like, their first cards, their rookie cards, if you will, of your Billy Joel's, actors, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and boxing cards. I've always done boxing cards, but I went a little more heavier and acquired more this year than any other year prior to this year. So, you can change up, and it doesn't mean you even have to get rid of a PC you already have. You can add on to it. Now, if you can also move that and then go in a different direct. That's the thing. There's so many different layers to how you can hobby, and no one can tell you how to do it. Right? You have to make that determination yourself, and that's the best part is you get to make that determination yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to throw the link into the chat here. I'd love to hear people's memories of 2023 in the hobby. If anybody has stories or buzzwords, from the year, I'll bring you on.
I'm reading some. You might see me like smiling or chuckling. I'm reading some of the comments in the chat room that I find funny. Like Adam from Spun. My household's a dictatorship, and it ain't me. Yeah, listen, honesty is the best policy, and I'm sure his wife is wonderful. He's kind of tongue in cheek in that, but yeah, my boxing. Well, I was an amateur boxer in my younger days. I didn't really have a nickname. Um, mine would be in my hometown. It's not like it's never been used before, but I got to go with Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a good nickname for boxing, mainly because I don't like getting hit. But when I was younger and I got into some scrapes, I did win them. So maybe the Bruiser Black.
Well, stop picking on kids 10 years younger than you, number one.
No, it's
And
like
this
Kramer
is,
from Seinfeld.
I got a deviated septum to prove I don't necessarily like getting hit, but it's happened before.
I don't even know how we got there. I do want Chris Ramsey, MTV cards 1990 so cheap. MC Hammer's first cards. That is a legit comment. Thank you, Chris. Um,
Yeah, don't forget the Beastie Boys out of that product and I believe the
yeah,
update version of that set. And that's actually not their first card. I found that out. So now I'm on the hunt for
John, by
another
coincidence,
Beastie
this is
Boy
another
card.
one for you.
I did. I switched to it and I just literally, what's today? Saturday? Thursday, I took them all out and put them back into like the regular, like, where they'll be out in the showcase. So I did not have good luck. I used a top loader binder for 3 shows. Now, if it's for your own personal use, I'm only speaking from a show aspect. So keep that in mind. Take it with a grain of salt. I sold 1 card out of that top loader binder in 3 shows. So I kind of scrapped that. But they're great. If like you want to have them, in a bookcase at your house, they display wonderfully. It's just for a show, people don't like to turn pages in a top loader binder. I found that out. So two different angles there.
Horatio, have you ever put a top loader in a binder?
No, no, but I think that's something I'm going to do this year.
I
Uh,
just learned about this. Maybe this should be on my 2023 list. That's crazy to me.
yeah, yeah, and there's like I feel like there's different products that you can choose from, and you always want to get the best one. So I'd be interested in finding out, like John, what you recommend. I'll whatever if you want to say now, but the Amazon descriptions sometimes are kind of not that great. So like to hear what you used.
Not all. You got your. I'll be fair across the board. You got BCW, Ultra Pro. Not all of them make top loader sheets, but I would buy them from an established supply company like that. I've seen some other ones where it's like, Jimmy's Card Shack top loader binder, top loader pages, and I've heard horror stories where they rip when you're putting the top loaders in, or they're so tight you can get them in, but it's almost like good luck getting them back out.
Yeah.
So probably go with a reputable brand that makes them, whether that's Ultra Pro, BCW, Cardboard Gold, and others. I can't mention them all, but a brand that you're very familiar with that's not sort of new or fly by night, that have been around for a while and are going to be here for the long haul type of deal.
And the comment is, I was thinking the top loader binder would be nice for personal use to save space.
Yeah, that's a great and so it would definitely save space, and that was sort of my rationale for even using it. Danny, we've had that conversation when I've started to employ it as part of my show setup. I'm like, I can get 200 to 300 cards in whatever space a binder will take up on a table. I can only put 54 cards in a showcase that takes up a lot bigger room. So I'm like, this would save so much space. The problem I had eventually, which led me to scrap the whole idea after 3 shows, was people just didn't open it up. Or a lot of times I'd open it up to the first page and they just never, I don't know if they thought it was like a whole set. The only time I've seen people really look through binders is vintage set collectors, when dealers have like vintage cards in pages. I've never really felt like people just look for regular cards or rookie cards through the binders. I could be wrong, and I'm sure some people do. I can just tell you in 3 shows, I did not have good luck with that binder, to the point I'm like, I'm gonna pull it off the table and take these cards out and put them back in the regular rotation. So, but for personal collection use, like Chris said, or anyone else that wants to do it that way, yeah, highly recommend it, because you can put 300 cards into a bookcase where and occupy one binder slot. That's saying something, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I love this comment. The top loader binders. I need to try this for player binders. Sound cool. Great way to keep player cards, especially if you don't need them all slabbed and you're just doing a run. It's a great way. Just get a 5,000 count box with top loaders. Works just as well. To each their own. I guess it depends on how you like to flip through and sort them. I think if I was set or player collecting, I might like the binder better, but doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's just an acquired taste. Tom's not wrong. I mean, I have those too, right? But
Yep.
I guess if it's something you want to look through a lot and see quickly, or hey, your card buddy comes over and you want to just whip out your binder, don't get be careful there, and show them, and page through and find a card maybe quicker. So it's just what works for you, right? Or you can do both.
Yeah. Hershey, how do you keep most of your cards?
Most of my cards, yeah, are there in the boxes. I've been doing some set builds, so those are in binders. But there are like some PC stuff that I have that I would love to just flip through, because it's not the same when you're kind of flipping through them in the box. So that's why I was really kind of asked John, like, I want to make that transition to the top loader binders. But most of my stuff is in boxes. They kind of take up space. I actually I can't extend my legs here underneath my desk because I've got the boxes underneath here. So it'd be good to kind of consolidate some stuff and make some more. Not that I'm a very tall guy by any means, but just a little leg room, a little extra leg room.
Like Jason's comment, I feel the binder invites me to look at my cards more than if they were in a box.
I agree.
Yeah, the invite part about it, it's easy to flip it. Remember this? I used to keep my garbage pail kids in my trapper keeper. That was 1983. Steve and I remember my trapper keepers, and those circle clasp made it about a week until they went off center on each other. And then you had to use the paper reinforcers. The whole thing was a mess. This is a good question. I don't think the top loader binders save room. I use boxers, no binders. I use binders for 20 years. Well, I think they save room versus partial filled boxes. Like if you're collecting a player and you're using a 250 count box for 100 cards, then you're not maximizing your space. So I think it depends on how you're organizing it. Binders.
It does save room. It does save room. But is it tremendous? It's not a tremendous room, but it's as like I said, for the shows, you can get 300 cards in that binder. You can in that same space, I could only put out 15 cards in a showcase. But again, if no one looks through the binder, you know what I mean? That defeats the purpose too. So, but yeah, I mean, again, that's we're talking about being CEO of your hobby, right? That includes how you display or store your cards as well. And you can change there, right? That's been, if anything that's cost me the most money, it's changing the way I store cards or buying new, carrying cases and things. I've spent more money on doing stuff like that, kind of transitioning to different ways of how I either display or store cards, even in this room itself, that can add up too. So you don't want to probably change a ton because even though it's not crazy expensive, it starts to add up depending on how much inventory you have.
I'm wondering.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering if there's like a psychological aspect to that too, John. Like if me as a guy that wants to buy some cards, flipping through a binder, maybe I perceive the cards as not as valuable as opposed to me seeing them in a showcase. I wonder. That's just me thinking out loud now. But like you said, for PC, I love the binder. I got the sets I'm building. I've got them in binders because it's just easier to flip through the pages, flip through the players, and the top loader binders are great because for some of those rookie cards and certain sets that are more valuable, it's nice to keep them a little bit more protected than just putting them in a regular sleeve. So.
I think that's a good point. I think maybe there is a perceived, oh, they're not in John's showcases. These are probably not worth my time maybe looking through. I'm sure that perception is. I think binders, when you see a binder at a show, most people feel like it's for set collectors to fill in some of their needs off their need list. I think that there's that sort of people sort of put that value on them, but or some people just time wise, right? Don't want to stop that long and thumb through pages. You see, I've done shows long enough. People will do this sometimes. Just real quick, kind of glance, see if anything sort of catches their eye or stands out, and then on to the next table. Or if you're fortunate, they start wheeling and dealing with you. So, that's probably a good point. That's probably why I won't be using them at this point. But like you said, Horatio, and other people in the chat room, for it didn't work for me for a show, but it's still a great inventory tool to use on a in house, if you will. And it does save space in the sense that a 500. How wide is a 500 count? A 5,000 count monster box, and how wide's a binder? Although you can get more, yes, in the five. So it's close. Again, it depends on how you want it presented.
Mark Oil says, I've got both for sets, binders and boxes. I can put multiple different player PCs in either. Yeah, I agree. I use a combination of both. And right next to the magazines, I believe. From that.
And in the car.
Right. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think it's just about protecting the cards. Just keeping it organized the way you want to keep it organized. All right. I do want to talk about kind of some predictions or I hate predictions, looking forward to 2024.
Hey, one more buzzword, buzzword, and we'll close it out. Startups. We've seen a lot of new companies, hobby companies this year, right? Now, whether they survive 2024 with where the hobby is and maybe headed, we'll see. But startups, we've seen collaborations as well. We've seen companies partner together. I think that trend continues into 2024. Okay, I'm sorry, I had to get one last.
No, but buzzwords are welcome all show. There's no penalty. Now we have no idea when we talk a year from now, there's going to be buzzwords we can't imagine. And I'm probably going to call dibs on whatever the food factor is again next year. But looking forward to 2024, where do you guys see it heading? I see consolidation by the companies, not just the
Whopper fractors. Whopper fractors are going to be the next big thing. The Burger King's going to outbid McDonald's, so there won't be Big Mac refractors. Although I don't know, they both have a nice ring to it, right? Mac refractors or Whopper refractors?
Whopper fractor.
Or would it be McFractor?
The McFractor.
Yeah.
Love it.
See, we're taken care of. But what are you guys looking for 2024? I think that the marketplaces are popping up everywhere. So I think marketplace is already a buzzword, and that's going to continue to be a buzzword. And then I think because there's so many, I think we're going to see the consolidation of the buzzwords. Or the consolidation of the buzzwords, consolidation of the marketplaces. I think there can only be so many. What do you guys think?
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if this is a 2024 thing, but in the near future, and I'm just curious to see how, and this kind of off the radar, but stuff that's been on my mind recently is artificial intelligence and like these chat GPT and things like that. So like, when you're writing articles, creating content, I could probably type up a prompt and have an article done in 1 minute, depending on how smart the AI is.
Now we know. So now we know.
I saw that coming. I'm already shaking my head.
Yeah. So, listen, why would I well, not me, but like hypothetically speaking, like, right, why would somebody go through the pains of contacting people, interviewing people, doing, research, based off of other people's research, obviously, right? The research has already been done. So I'm always careful about the content that's out there and like how easily it is to create that using these tools, and not even the writing part, but even like pictures, right? Like how easy would it be for an AI to come up with a Michael Jordan rookie card and put it for sale, right? And if you have a bad actor that's using that kind of technology, it's going to be there, like it's going to present itself, and the cards are going to look very, very like original cards. And I just worry about the hobby with that kind of stuff. Who's presenting the information? Is the information original? And who's behind it, and what are their intentions? And so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to seeing in 2024 and beyond.
I think Mookie's piggybacking right on that. Will ChatGPT replace John Newman in 2024? I'll hang up and listen. Long time, first time.
I don't know if it'll replace me, but it would probably be better. Like I'm not gonna, God willing, I'm not going anywhere, but probably listen to the robot John rather than the real one.
Some great ideas from Chris. The buyback should be expanded to the Rookie of the Year winners. That's an interesting concept, also.
Although cash out when you can. That way they don't become, perennial superstars.
My Kyle Lewis is coming back up in value. Stop it.
Kyle Lewis, Aristides Aquino. Where is Aristides Aquino right now?
I really did buy a Kyle Lewis at the beginning of the year. Starbucks rocks the hobby world and creates the coffee fractor. Which
I will tell you, if that happens, I'm not gonna lie. If there's a coffee refractor, whatever they're gonna call it, I'm a big coffee guy, so that'll be a game changer for this guy. My robot version.
Can we put on like an APB for anybody that has any clue about who has those cards, the taco fractors, and kind of what they decided to do? Like if they sold them or what with them? Like, because I'd love to know.
I have not heard of anybody pulling one or having one. Yeah. Because they didn't announce it right away, I wonder if people even knew what they had or if they thought it was just a gimmick card.
I thought they were put on eBay, right, for sale. The Ketel Marte. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his first name right, but
were all 5 put up for sale?
I don't think all 5. No, but I know one was, right. That's what I know of. Okay. But so I don't know. I don't know. There's somebody eating a lot of Taco Bell. Maybe that's where to find them. The answer is
I know where you can find them. You can find them in some restroom, whether it be their own or public.
Here you go. I never get on the Rookie of the Year hype until they have a few proven years. I'm just now getting on the Luis Robert hype, and I'm a Sox fan, so yeah. I always talk about the post-hype bounce when a player has a lot of hype and then injuries, something happens, and then they come back up. And if you can get that swoon and catch it on the back up, the market's already ready for their prices to be high. They've already accepted that. And if you're sitting on Luis Robert cards, you got a chance to do good this year. So, this year.
Acuna last year. Acuna.
The Bob Horner bandwagon still has room. Making a push for Bob Horner cards, John. Thank you.
Somebody has to do it.
Danny's still holding his Ben McDonald cards. There's nothing wrong with that. You guys are going faster than I can click. The taco has been thrown away out the back door, most likely. Well, that goes back to the burglary at the printing press. Did somebody sneak out the tacos and they're just eating tacos for life?
I was waiting for the Joe Charbonneau reference, and Mark Hoyle does not disappoint when we talk about rookie hype. Maybe the poster boy for Rookie of the Year, then fizzle.
Jerome Walton. So you're saying there's a chance? There, with bounce back guys. Kevin Moss. This is going to get ugly quick if we start doing failure rookies. All right.
And don't forget about Jason Moss.
Who's that?
His brother that was worse than he was.
Oh, is that like Ozzy Canseco?
That's yeah. He's the Moss version of Ozzy.
He's the poor man's Ozzy Canseco.
There's a guy, Todd Van Poppel.
Todd Van Poppel. Yep. Brian Taylor. I mean, we can do this one.
Mark Pryor. By the way, Mark Pryor's having a successful second career as a pitching coach in the major leagues. So
Really?
while he struggled to get it done on the mound himself, he's helping the next generation of major league players get it done.
I don't understand why you can't throw 20 strikeouts in a game, son. You know, I did it. Greg Olson, he had a good career. I don't want to. Greg Olson was an Orioles reliever who won Rookie of the Year in '89. All right, we're heading down the last couple minutes here. So I always like to talk about what we're doing in the hobby. Anybody in the chat room with pickups lately? You guys with pickups lately? Anybody going to card shows this weekend? And then a couple minutes to say goodbye at the end here. I know there's a card show in Newark, Delaware this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it up today, but shout out to the show there. What are you guys up to this weekend? Or what have you been up to?
I got these in. I posted them on social media. I'm a sucker for Griffey cards and some obscure stuff, especially. So this is the 1991 Waldo's Candies, Ken Griffey Jr. They only made these cards for 1 year. Waldo's Candies, I don't think lasted long. So I got about 11 of these things. And I just like obscure stuff in general, and then you add Griffey Jr. To the mix. I'm in. So I added 11 more to some that I already had. My next show is the second Saturday in January in Watertown, New York. It is a small 40-table show, but it's become sort of my monthly setup show at this point.
Real quick, read a couple out of the chat room here. Chris C. got a Kobe Bryant 96 Flair Showcase, Rozier rookie, and pulled an Otani super short print hidden gems out of a blaster. Wow, you do much better pulling than I do, Chris. And then I wanted to also touch on Red Light, who picked up a Lou Brock rookie PSA 4 for $100. So I don't know what the book is, but that sounds like a good buy.
No, that is a very good deal. I actually just had to comp that card for somebody, and that a PSA 4 Brock rookie for $100 is a steal. Good buy there.
Stu says started the 65 Old London coin set. Hope to finish this year. Good luck on that. Horatio, what have you been up to or going to be up to?
Oh, no, just mentioned that I'm getting my kids a little bit more in the hobby. So I bought them they're cheap boxes, the 2022 Topps Baseball Holiday cards. And so this came out, and my son wanted to hang it up on our Christmas tree, but we couldn't figure out how. So this is one of the things that comes in with it. It's Wilson Contreras,
Oh, that's cool.
thing. This is from last year's set. But I find this interesting because it's huge, and I don't know what to do with it. Like, there's no top loader for it. Like, I don't know, where to kind of take care of this. So I'm just gonna throw it in the box there, and hopefully it kind of doesn't get too bent. But yeah, my son didn't want anything to do with this. He liked the other stuff. He got a Pete Alonso with a batting with a candy cane, and so it was a short print that he loved, and I'm glad he pulled that card.
Put it on a chain. There you go. You need one of the card chains for it.
I just might put it right here, right?
I mean, that could just set right on one of the branches, one of the, you know what I mean? It probably could set down on there. I mean, you just have to,
Mark
you don't have a
says,
pet or
try the
something.
4-pocket page.
4-pocket. Oh yeah, I could do that. Yeah, it's fallen, John, off the tree, and the dog has trampled on it a couple of times. So I was like, let me save this card. Let me kind of, yeah, you can't tell, but it's here.
Yeah, and the Topps holiday boxes. I mean, some people like them, some people don't. I think they're kind of cool. They have a little fun. It's the Christmas season. They do some variations. You get those ornament cards. I don't mind that product. I think it's cool. While we might say they make too much stuff, I'd leave that one, as a every year tradition type of product.
Yeah. It was
I
20
learned
bucks a
something.
pop. Yeah,
I learned something every episode. All right. And in the chat, just getting caught up, the couple, and then I want to say a thank you to everybody and goodbye for the year. And John, I want to let you get in probably the final word here.
Nice.
As the Grand Poobah. Where's the comment here? This is what I was saying. Foul 5 ball. I did my first break this week. Curious what you thought and how it went. That's
as a breaker or bought into his first one. I guess that would be my question.
That's a great question. Absolutely. Topps Holiday is fun. Definitely not an investment product. Happy New Year's to all three of us.
Listen, Horatio's a match too. We will knight him if I don't know if we can.
I don't think that's how
we're doing it anyway. We're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
We knight him, Sir Mensch.
Happy New Year's, guys. Thank you, Mark. Herman, late, have to go back. Happy New Year's, guys. Thanks for jumping in. To everybody, just want to say it's been a fantastic 2023. 2024 will cross into my third calendar year as part of Hobby Hotline. It is a pleasure to interact with the chat room. It's a unique experience that it's never dull. So I get a.
As long as you have your seatbelt on, just always buckle up.
Right. So I get to pick me up on Saturday mornings.
Two things for the show: buckle your seatbelt. Always wear your cup. That's it. That's the only thing I can tell you.
All right, you any New Year's messages?
No, just real quick. I'm very fortunate, guys, to be part of this. You guys, including me in the Hobby Hotline, Hobby News Daily. So just, really, really happy and, fortunate you guys are including me in it, really. And I feel that way. Just looking forward to more positivity. John, I love the Jefferson Burdick story, or not story, the thing that you did, cleaning his gravestone and go back there. So I'm looking forward to more of those kind of stories to uplift the community and, take away our collective minds from Panini fanatics.
Yeah, well said, Horatio. Thank you, by the way, as well. Yeah, and you know what? The hobbies, listen, I don't have to say this. We know it, but I'll say it anyway, right? The hobby is a great one. There is a lot of positive stuff going out. We hear a lot about the bad stuff because some people sort of like that stuff, the train wreck folks. But for every bad story you read or see a tweet or hear about, there's 10 good ones maybe. You have it. And they're out there. You got to find them. HobbyNewsDaily.com might be a place to go to find some of those. And again, just piggybacking off what Danny said, we appreciate anyone who watches the show live, who downloads it after the fact. We don't exist without you guys. Horatio, I know you thanked us for being part of it. Thank you for being part of Hobby Hotline as well. Glad to have you. So I think we have 16 personalities and different viewpoints, and that's one of the beauties of the show. One thing I will say, starting in January, we will be on every Saturday morning, like today at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. We're going to scrap the Tuesday night show, at least for now. I'm not saying that, that it won't ever return, but I won't say never ever, but right now we're not going to do that. And we're going to put out the whole month schedule ahead of time so people will know, who's on ahead of time. So if they're if they like a certain personality or don't like us, they'll know he or she is on whatever week. All right. You buy a ticket to a sporting event, you want to know who's playing, right? They don't just say, hey, show up, 2 teams random will be there. So I hope you enjoy everybody, but I get it. And So we'll be doing that. And who knows what else?
I'm going to go against every bone in my body. And Stu says, who's on first? And I'm going to stay out of Abbott and Costello to end the year here. But we could do the whole thing if you wanted to. One of my favorite things. With that being said, guys, I really appreciate you guys doing the morning. This was a blast. To everybody in the chat room, and like John said, thanks for making it a great morning, and we'll catch you next Saturday. See you later.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year.